Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm Tony Clement with the monthly check-in with Tom Caldwell. He's the chair of Caldwell Securities in Toronto. Lots been happening on the economy now, the economic front, and the markets over the past month. What's your assessment of things right now?
Well, the first question is, where do we top out in these interest rates? The general feeling, I believe, is that we're near the top. We might have one more increase just to show they're serious, but I think that's the case. Inflation still is kind of sticky. It's not coming off as much as they would like right now, but it will eventually. But right now, you still have a government flushing the system with cash, which is not going to bring inflation down. So you got, it's almost a schizophrenic approach to dealing with the economy. The Bank of Canada versus the government. And that's the same in the United States. The markets have actually been almost skating sideways for several months.
Okay.
There's been bright spots and everything else. I do think we're going to have a slowdown in the economy. Now, my sample is not particularly good because I go in what I see. If I look at down at the in the path in the TD Center and First Canadian, there's lots of stores that are boarded up.
Yes.
And again, the situation we mentioned in the first segment, a lot of people don't want to come back downtown again. It isn't just the COVID fallout and wanting to work from the rec rooms. It is very inconvenient, difficult, and indeed, in some cases, dangerous. So there's a whole bunch of things converging that can create a little bit of a slowdown. And we have energy prices now starting to move up with this little bit of a fight going on between Saudi and the United States. So we're going to see inflation as a factor. But I never trust the numbers I see out of the central banks. Remember, I think I said some time ago on your show, when people said, oh, inflation's at 2%, it was never 2%, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, ask anybody that's had to go shopping for groceries or fill their car up or whatever else, or heat their home. It was never 2%. I think if you get down to 3.5, that's livable. And I think the banks will ease off at that point. But if they crank it up too much, they could put us in a tailspin 6 months out from now. So it's just a little bit tentative right now. I think we're going to come through it all right, though. That's my bottom line.
Right. Second quarter, though, the economy shrank. It was by a small amount, but it did shrink. But I guess the question is, that has an impact on perhaps how the Bank of Canada sees interest rates, but it also means, are we going to get another quarter, the third quarter decline, technical recession, all these question marks, right?
Well, the Bank of Canada not only takes its cue from the economy, but also from the federal government and from the media, make no mistake, but primarily from what the U.S. Fed is doing. We have to maintain a little rate in here to maintain the value of our currency. So my gut feel after all of these things come in is we're near the top, give or take 25 basis points, and that's where they're going to stop because they got to sit back. There's not. I did it when I studied economics long beyond what I need to use, and part of the history ones I worked on, there's not a business cycle that the central banks have not made worse because they're always coming in late, and then they overshoot, and then they remember this inflation was caused by the central banks and 0% loans. I mean, what do you think? Borrow money, go buy stuff. So
that's right.
And it's true with governments and banks, central banks. They create a problem, and then they're the ones that going to save you from the problem. But they're going to overshoot. My gut feel is we're near the top in rates, and a quarter of a point doesn't make any difference whatsoever. That's pure optics. The big raise has already happened.
Now, here's an interesting number. Our job growth was strong. I think it was 40,000 jobs in the last month, but it was eclipsed by people looking for work. That is to say, we have newcomers coming in looking for work, et cetera. So create 40,000 jobs, but there's 80,000 new people looking for work as well. Is this a feature of our system right now?
Any numbers that we produce at the macro level, at the federal level, are suspect. Make no mistake about it.
Okay.
Because if you look at unemployment in the States, you've got to look at the participation rate. A lot of people just given up. I can't get a job. And that very often is underprivileged minorities too. That there's a whole raft of people out there wanting to have jobs. I tell you, we have students in for the summer, and I always keep telling people there are more good jobs than there are good people to fill them. But there's still a whole bunch of people out there who may be underqualified, who have just given up. The participation rate is another factor. So, and again, you have to break the numbers down. I think one of the big bumps we had some months ago, I think 80,000 were government employees.
Right.
So it skews the number. And as far as certainly the federal government in Canada goes, everything is about politics. It's not about substance, it's about politics. So if they have to go and hire 10 or 20,000 to skew the numbers, they'll do that.
They'll do that. Exactly. We're going to return with our guest, Tom Caldwell, after the break. Please stay with us.